All right, are you ready to explore something a bit different today?
Always up for a challenge. What do you have in mind?
We're focusing on the idea of working hard in silence, staying focused, dedicated, and letting actions speak louder than words.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It's almost like a countercultural philosophy in today's world, isn't it? With all the noise and self-promotion.
Yeah, exactly. And the source material we're looking at really digs into this. It frames it as a way to protect your energy, avoid unnecessary scrutiny, and let the results speak for themselves.
So for our listener, imagine this. Instead of broadcasting every step of your journey, you're meticulously crafting something behind the scenes.
And then, bam, you unveil it to the world, fully formed and ready to make an impact.
The source we're looking at talks about how success achieved quietly can have a far more profound impact.
It's that element of surprise, right?
Yeah, like people who doubted or underestimated you are suddenly confronted with your achievements.
Almost like that classic underdog story.
Exactly. It's not about seeking revenge, though.
Right. It's not about proving anyone wrong.
It's about the power of actions over words.
Letting your results speak for themselves.
Right.
I can see how that would be really empowering.
Absolutely. And, this brings us to another key benefit that's highlighted in the source. Avoiding unnecessary scrutiny.
Oh, yeah. Like when you share your plans too early and everyone has an opinion.
Yeah, you open yourself up to doubt, criticism, even negativity that can just totally derail your progress.
Think about it. Have you ever shared an idea or goal and someone immediately just kind of shot it down?
Oh, all the time. It's so deflating.
Totally.
And that's why this approach, working in silence, it's almost like you're creating a protective bubble around your goals.
So you can experiment, make mistakes, learn.
Yeah, without the fear of judgment.
It makes a lot of sense, like giving yourself the freedom to explore your potential.
Exactly. It's not about being completely secretive, though.
Right. It's not about total isolation.
The source material emphasizes being discerning about who you share your journey with, surrounding yourself with people who support your vision.
Like a supportive inner circle.
Exactly. People who can offer constructive feedback and help you stay accountable.
That sounds so valuable, especially in a world that's so quick to judge and criticize.
Speaking of valuable, the source also gets into some practical steps for how to actually implement this philosophy.
Okay, I love some actionable advice. Let's hear it.
It all starts with setting clear goals, which seems obvious, but
Yeah, gotta have that destination in mind before you start the journey, right?
exactly. And then you need a roadmap.
Okay, the roadmap. I'm listening.
The source really stresses the importance of creating a plan, like breaking down those goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
So you don't get overwhelmed by the big picture.
Right, exactly.
This is huge for our listener, right? Like taking that big, ambitious goal and turning it into a series of smaller, actionable steps.
Absolutely. And then there's a step that I think is so relevant in today's world, with social media and everything.
Okay, lay it on me.
Avoiding oversharing. I mean, it's so tempting to want to post every little step of your journey.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
But the source makes a really interesting point. It can actually dilute your motivation.
I can see that.
You're essentially giving away your energy before you've even begun, right?
It's like you lose that initial spark, that drive.
Exactly. And remember, this whole philosophy is about letting your results speak for themselves.
So channel that energy inward, focus on the work, and then,
Let the outcome be the big reveal.
okay, I like it, creating a sense of anticipation.
Right. Building toward something remarkable.
Okay, so we've got our goals. We're avoiding oversharing. What else?
The source also talks a lot about discipline and consistency, like showing up every day,
Even when you don't feel like it.
especially when you don't feel like it. It's about building those habits.
This is a good time for our listener to think about their own daily routines, right?
Absolutely. Like, are there any consistent habits that are already contributing to their goals?
Or are there areas where a bit more discipline could make a difference?
Yeah, good point.
So it's not about sudden bursts of effort, it's about showing up consistently.
Right, and putting in the work day after day.
So success isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
Exactly.
And when we do achieve something significant, do we still have to keep quiet?
That's a great question, and the source actually suggests celebrating quietly.
So acknowledging your progress, but without needing a big fanfare?
Yeah, just taking a moment for personal reflection, savoring the win, and then getting back to work.
It's about that internal satisfaction, that feeling of accomplishment.
Exactly. Now, before we move on, I want to share some real-life examples that the source uses to illustrate this concept in action.
Oh, I love a good real-world example. Who do they mention?
Well, they start with someone you've probably heard of, Elon Musk.
Okay, Elon Musk, I'm listening.
The source points out that he worked tirelessly on Tesla and SpaceX during those early years, often in relative obscurity.
And now look at them.
Exactly. Imagine all the doubters back then.
It's a testament to the power of having a vision, putting in the work, and letting the results speak for themselves.
They also mentioned J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Imagine years spent writing those books before they became a global phenomenon.
Years of dedicated effort, pouring your heart and soul into a project without any guarantee of success.
That takes an incredible amount of belief.
And perseverance. All right, give me one more.
All right, last one. Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Okay, he fits the bill for sure.
The source mentions how he was known for his incredibly intense and private training sessions.
All that unseen work, all that dedication behind closed doors.
It built the foundation for his legendary career.
So inspiring. It really shows that the real magic often happens behind the scenes.
Precisely. These examples demonstrate that regardless of your field, putting in the work consistently and quietly can lead to truly remarkable outcomes.
I'm convinced, this is making so much sense, but I'm curious,
Hmm.
beyond those tangible results, what's the deeper meaning? Why does working hard in silence resonate with so many people on a personal level?
That's a great question, and I think that's what we should explore next. So where were we? Oh yeah, the deeper meaning behind working hard in silence.
Right, like we talked about the benefits, the practical steps, even some inspiring examples.
But now I think it's time to explore that internal landscape. What does it do for you personally when you embrace this approach?
I like that, going beyond just the external game. It's almost like working hard in silence is more than just a strategy, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a mindset, a way of approaching your goals, and ultimately a way of being in the world.
So for our listener, it's not just about checking things off a to-do list. It's about cultivating something deeper.
Right, and the source we've been looking at really highlights this. It talks about how this approach fosters certain qualities.
Oh, interesting. Like what? Give me an example.
Well, one of the big ones is integrity. When you're working in silence, you're not driven by the need for external validation.
You're doing the work because it matters to you, because it aligns with your values.
Exactly. You're committed to doing it right, even when nobody's watching.
For our listener, think about it this way. You're working on a project, and there's a shortcut, an easy way to cut corners. But, deep down, it wouldn't be the right thing to do.
Yeah, it wouldn't align with your standards.
So you choose the harder path, the one that takes more effort, but ultimately leads to a better outcome.
That's integrity in action. And it's often cultivated in those quiet moments of dedicated work.
Because you're not distracted by the need to impress others.
Right. You can really stay true to your own internal compass.
Okay, so integrity, that's a big one. What else?
Another quality that's really nurtured by this approach is grit. Working towards a goal in silence, it often means facing challenges and setbacks without that constant support and encouragement from others.
So you have to dig deep, rely on your own resilience.
Exactly. You have to find that inner strength to keep going even when things get tough.
It's like, for our listener, imagine this. You're working towards a goal, and you hit a major roadblock. Maybe you get some negative feedback, or you encounter a challenge that just seems insurmountable.
It would be so easy to just give up at that point.
Right, to throw in the towel and walk away.
But instead, you choose to persevere.
You find a way to overcome that obstacle, learn from it, and keep moving forward.
That's grit. And let me tell you, it's essential for achieving anything worthwhile.
Because let's be real, the path to success is rarely a straight line, right? There are going to be bumps along the way.
Absolutely. And it's how you navigate those bumps, how you respond to those challenges, that really determines whether you ultimately reach your destination.
I love that. It's like we're reframing the whole definition of success. It's not just about the end result. It's about the internal transformation that happens along the way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about becoming the best version of yourself through that process.
Okay, so we've got integrity, we've got grit. Is there a third quality that this mindset fosters?
There is. And it might be the most important one of all. Passion. When you work hard in silence, you're not doing it for the applause or the accolades. You're doing it because it lights you up inside.
This is a good time for our listener to do a little self-reflection. What are you working on right now? Are these things that genuinely excite you, that align with your values, your passions?
Or are you doing them out of obligation or because you feel like you should?
That's a big question, right? Because if your work isn't fueled by passion, it can start to feel like a chore.
Exactly. But when it's aligned with what you truly care about, it becomes an expression of who you are.
And that's where that true sense of fulfillment comes from.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where your talents, your skills, and your passions intersect.
And then pouring your heart and soul into it without needing anyone else's approval.
That's the beauty of it. So to circle back to your earlier question about the deeper meaning, I think that's it.
It's about aligning your actions with your values.
Finding joy in the process.
And ultimately, creating a life that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've covered so much ground, from the practical strategies to the deeper meaning behind this whole approach.
And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired,
Yeah.
ready to embrace this philosophy in their own lives.
To work hard in silence on what truly matters to them and let their success be their noise.
Beautifully said.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we've given everyone a lot to think about.
In part 3, we'll explore some practical tips for staying motivated and inspired on this journey of quiet dedication.
And we'll talk about how to navigate those moments when you might feel like giving up.
I can't wait to dive even deeper into this topic.
All right, so we've talked about the what and the why of working hard in silence. Now, for this last part, I think we should tackle the how ride.
Yeah, the million-dollar question. How do you actually stay motivated and inspired when you're grinding away behind the scenes, especially when there's no immediate gratification or external validation? For our listener, it's easy to get caught up in that hustle and grind mentality. But then what happens when you hit a wall? When the initial excitement fades and you're faced with setbacks or just the sheer monotony of the work?
That's when it gets real, right? That's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
And the source material we've been looking at actually offers some really interesting insights into this. It talks about the importance of finding ways to connect to the deeper meaning behind your work.
Okay, I like that. So it's not just about powering through those tough moments, it's about tapping into something more profound.
Right, because when you're connected to the bigger picture, the why behind what you're doing, it becomes easier to weather those storms. You have something to hold on to when the going gets tough.
So for our listener, this might be a good time to revisit your goals. Why are you doing this? What impact do you hope to make? What values are you living out through this work?
Exactly. Those questions can be such powerful anchors when you start to feel lost or discouraged. And another thing that can help is to break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable milestones.
Yeah, it's like creating those little wins along the way, right? Those moments where you can celebrate progress and feel that sense of accomplishment, even if the finish line is still far off.
Right, because let's face it, working towards a big goal, especially in silence, it can feel like a long and lonely journey.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can find ways to acknowledge and celebrate those small victories along the way, it helps you stay motivated. It reinforces that sense of progress.
Okay, so connect to the deeper meaning. Celebrate small wins. What else? What about when those negative thoughts start creeping in? The self-doubt, the fear of failure. How do you deal with that internal critic? Oh, that's a great question, and something I think we all struggle with, right? But here's the thing. That inner critic, it's not always wrong. Sometimes it's trying to protect you from getting hurt or failing. But the key is to learn how to manage it, to turn down the volume on that negative self-talk and amplify the positive, supportive voice.
So for our listener, it's like having a conversation with that inner critic, right?
Hmm.
Acknowledging those fears, but then reframing them in a more constructive way. So instead of saying, I can't do this, it's I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm capable of figuring this out.
Exactly. And it can be helpful to cultivate a practice of gratitude,
Mhm.
focusing on what's going well, what you're thankful for. It can really shift your perspective and help you stay positive, even when you're facing challenges. That's so true. It's easy to get caught up in what's not working. But when you take a moment to appreciate the good stuff, it can be a real game changer. Okay, so connect to the deeper meaning, celebrate small wins, manage the inner critic, practice gratitude. What else can help us stay the course on this journey of quiet dedication?
Well, I think it's also important to remember that you're not alone in this. We live in a world that often glorifies instant success and constant self-promotion, but there's a whole community of people out there who are quietly working towards their goals, who understand the power of dedication and perseverance.
It's like a silent movement, a tribe of individuals who are driven by something more than just external validation. And for our listener, finding those like-minded individuals, connecting with a supportive community, that can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you to grow, who believe in your vision even when you're doubting yourself.
Yeah, those people are gold. They remind you that you're not alone on this journey and that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you keep moving forward.
Right. And remember, the journey of working hard in silence. It's not always easy.
Mm.
It takes dedication. It takes resilience. but the rewards are well worth the effort.
Absolutely. It's about the growth, the learning, the transformation that happens along the way.
It's about building character, developing your skills, and ultimately creating something meaningful, something that makes a difference in the world.
This has been such a powerful conversation. I think we've really unpacked the essence of working hard in silence, from the practical strategies to the deeper meaning and the importance of finding your tribe along the way.
And I hope our listeners are walking away with a sense of inspiration and empowerment, knowing that they have the power to create the life they want, to achieve their goals, and to make a difference in the world.
Beautifully said. On that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Mike and Mischief. We'll leave you with a final thought to carry with you. Your journey is yours to define. Your success is yours to create. And your voice, when you choose to use it, will be even more powerful for having been refined through dedication and perseverance. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.